Hello there, everybody. This is Mo Chat. I'm back with you today. I'm sorry it's a little bit late in the afternoon. Today is August the 12th, 2016, and it's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in Kansas. The weather here is kind of wet, sprinkling a little bit. Looks like it's going to rain or storm, but we kind of need that, because it's been so dry. But right now, I want to get back on that earthquake information. So this is an earthquake info time, just to check in with you. A little bit of an update. Out there in that New Caledonia, it's still going on. Okay, in the past 12 hours, they have had a 4.7, a 4.8. Now, like I told you before, I'm really going to try to keep my earthquake info short because, I don't want to infringe upon anyone else. And you need to be sure that you go take a look at BPearthwatch today. He's talking about serious weather conditions down in Louisiana and coming up into Mississippi, some serious flooding going on there. Now, we do not know if that has anything to do with the earthquakes that are happening in New Caledonia. It is in the South Pacific, but, Louisiana and stuff is in the Atlantic Ocean, kind of like the North Atlantic Ocean. But we have had several earthquakes going on everywhere. You'll want to check out Dutch Sense for information on how earthquakes and stuff affect the weather in other places. Also, those sunspots. Space Observer is really good about telling you the effects of that. There's just a lot of things going on that a lot of people are worried about. As far as I can tell, the solar flares have something to do with that, with the pull on the earth and causing, what are they called? They're called coronal mass ejections. That's like a sun flare from the sun. And these things do have effects on the weather. Also, they seem to be trying to link those to earthquakes. So these earthquakes going on and now this flooding down in Louisiana, that's some pretty serious stuff. So we need to keep an eye on that. But right now, just for your earthquakes, that New Caledonia is looking pretty serious. They keep having them there. There was a 5.0 in Southwest Indian Ridge. Okay, that's pretty big too. But don't forget, they had those 7.6ers in New Caledonia. That's scary. Indonesia is having some trouble. A 5.1 down there. Now, in Pahala, Hawaii, that's here in the United States. That's a 3.0. The Philippines had one at a 4.6. Um, 6 hours ago. I don't know what this place is. It's looks like around that Iran area and India area. It's Tajikistan. They had a 4.3. Over in China, they had a 4.4. That was 6 hours ago. There was another 4.7 just 5 hours ago in New Caledonia. They had those 7.6ers yesterday. Over in China, they had a 5.2. That was 2 hours ago. Indonesia, a 5.4. That was an hour ago. And Maluku in Indonesia, that was a 5.2. Okay, that's it for the last 12 hours. But seriously, people, I realize that you may be saying, Mo, these earthquakes aren't where we are. It's not in the United States. But you need to understand, many of these things all work together in cycles, and when one thing happens, it affects something else. Okay, so those 7.2, 7.6, 7.6, 5.4 over there in Caledonia and Vanuatu and China and Japan, all having these earthquakes, at any time they can cause a tsunami. And when that happens, you know, all of that water getting washed up and tearing up things after an earthquake happens, it causes even more damage. And it's all linked into the global weather. These things can cause weather patterns to change. It can cause more flooding, it can cause more rain, it can cause huge waves that tear up beaches and stuff along coastlines. Even if they're far from us, they can still have an effect on us. Maybe not directly in our homes or in our areas, but in the world as a whole, it can cause consequences that will affect us eventually. Even if it's a few days down the road or even a week, there are still side effects of those earthquakes. That's why a lot of people are trying to get information out there about earthquakes, especially if someone you know is there and you haven't heard from them. Well, by watching the earthquake alerts and keeping in touch with people like me and like BPearthwatch and Dutch Sense, then you know what's going on and you can always try to help them by being in contact with them. And if you can't reach them, then perhaps we can tell you the places to go to reach them. Okay, I really appreciate you watching today. Have a great day. Hit that subscribe button and share the information with everyone. This is free information and it does not hurt to be prepared. Always be ready in case something happens that may affect your family. Thank you. Bye.